My name is Brianna Callahan. Welcome to episode 2 of Nectar Knitty Chats. This is a little video diary where I keep track of my different projects that I've got going on. I've got my cup of coffee, my bee mug, and I'm ready to kind of talk about what I've got going on. So I hope you're cozy, maybe knitting or just hanging out with a warm beverage or a cool one as it's getting warmer out here, and gonna get started talking about what I've got going on. So first I'll start off with what I'm wearing today. So today I'm wearing my Stria cardigan. This is a fingering weight project that I knit a couple months back. It took me a long time. It's entirely in half fisherman's rib. You can see it's pilling quite a bit. But it is by far my coziest cardigan. It was quite a labor of love. I've made many mistakes. This is one of those projects where I just had to learn to live with a few of them, because half fisherman's rib is a very cool stitch, but it is extremely difficult to fix mistakes. So if you're planning on taking it on, I recommend practicing fixing mistakes maybe on a swatch, because I on several occasions made a mistake and then would try to fix it, and then it would just get so much worse. So I am really happy with the results. I feel like there's one mistake that I notice a lot. So there's like a row, you probably can't see it, of like purl bumps here. Oh, I think you can see it a little bit. But you know what? I know it's there. It kind of makes me laugh when I look at it, and I'm okay with it. So this is a pattern by Andrea Mowry of Drea Renee Knits. Doesn't need any advertisement. She's a pretty huge designer. And I did this for a knit along with a couple of shops. I believe it was La Mercari, which is based out in Washington State in the US. And then I can't think of the other one that she partnered with, but it was like a woolen candle shop. And they do Insta Friends knit along every year, and I saw they were doing the Stria cardigan. I had the perfect yarn kind of already in my stash, and so I decided to go for it. And I cast on in, I think, October or November, and I finished in January or February. So it was a long one. I worked on it consistently with other projects, but I'm super happy with the result. I'm not sure if I would make it again just because it took so long. But I do really enjoy half fisherman rib wearing it, and so I have planned to knit the first sweater by Hive Knits, which incorporates this stitch on the sleeves, and so I'm really excited to knit that. I'm not sure when I will, but I'm excited to add that to my knitting wardrobe. The yarns in this, so I used Cascade Heritage Sock, which is a superwash that I got from Webs or yarn.com. That's one that I've liked using to hold with other yarns. It's pretty budget friendly. It is a superwash, which I'm now learning is not necessarily always the best, but I already had it in my stash, so I want to use what I've got and then think a little bit more about my purchasing practices with yarn. And then the really lovely striped yarn, I mean this beautiful variegated yarn, I'm really excited about. This is from Quaint Acres Alpaca, which is an alpaca farm based in West Virginia. I popped into this really great fiber shop in Frostburg, Maryland in the fall, and she has an amazing selection. She has a great Instagram too if you want to follow, and an online shop. And I saw this alpaca yarn. I'd never used alpaca before, and I was immediately drawn to it. It's really, really soft. It's got really good bounce, and the colors that they have dyed, they had some more natural ones from their kind of different alpaca, which are, you know, vary from cream to like brown color. And then they had some more that were like dyed like this. So that Quaint Acres alpaca is only available at Frostburg Fiber Depot because the owner of the shop, that her parents, it's their alpaca farm, which I think is so cool. I follow them on Instagram. I also now am kind of obsessed with alpaca. I've even gone to the Alpaca Fiber Festival in outside of Baltimore and met some alpaca, and I have aspirations of maybe having a couple one day. Well, jury's still out on whether Steve will let me do that or not. We live in a 1-bedroom apartment, so it wouldn't be here, don't worry. But I definitely recommend checking out their fiber. I mean, I really love the colors. It's a perfect spring cardigan. I wear this every day. It does have a lot of pilling. It's probably due for a little bit of a wash, but I wear this probably 1, 2, 3 times a week. And the pattern itself, I believe, I mean, I thought it was well written. I think the biggest things I struggled with were it's a big time investment because it's an entire garment knit and half fisherman's rib. It's fingering weight yarn, so, and it's pretty small needles. So I would just say if you're looking for a big time investment, it could be a good project for you. But if you're not, then maybe look somewhere else. But I didn't have any issues with the pattern otherwise, and I really enjoyed the experience of knitting it alongside other people, which is definitely a theme that you'll probably see in my knitting generally. So I think that's pretty much my lessons learned. I did not gauge swatch for this one, so I couldn't tell you if I met gauge. I now know that's a huge no-no, but I don't know what to tell you. It fits. You know, it's like got a little bit of ease without being like too poofy. I would say my sleeves grew more than I thought, which is something to note in the future when I knit half fisherman's rib, but I kind of like that they're a little cozy. And so I'm pretty happy with it in general. Definitely going to be a piece that I get a lot of wear out of. And I definitely, if you like something like squishy, it's warm without being overwhelmingly so. It's super squishy. Every time I wear it, when Steve hugs me, he like goes like this, you know, because it's just so nice, soft and squishy. So I definitely recommend the yarn. Definitely from Quaint Acres Alpaca. I'll link the shop down below. So next I wanted to talk about some of the finished objects I have. I have my notes here because I have lots of details. So my first finished object I want to talk about, I mentioned in my last podcast that I was joining a summer top knit along. So I have here from Hyris Makes. I've now learned how to pronounce it because I've listened to her own podcast, the Seashell top. So this is a, I used a worsted weight, but I believe it calls for a worsted or DK weight yarn and pattern lace. I did make some modifications because I only had one skein of my yarn, and if I can find it, I'll show you how much I have left. Oh, here it is. This is what I have remaining. So I got pretty down to the wire. I probably could have stood to do maybe one more repeat of the pattern, but I was just nervous. So it's gonna fit me really cropped, but I am super happy with it. I mean, the lace chart is beautiful. It whips up really quick. I mean, I could have, if I had a dedicated day to knitting, I could have finished this in one day, honestly. Pattern is super well written. Iris is really, really lovely. It was really nice knitting this alongside other people. I used a cotton merino wool blend from Cascade. I guess I've used a lot of Cascade. I didn't notice because I picked it up from my little yarn shop, Lovely Yarns in Baltimore. Definitely recommend them. They have great selection and a lot of stuff that's done locally. So I picked up this skein, I think about a year ago, a little less than a year ago, because it was a 100-gram skein of this really soft blown cotton merino wool blend. It's called Cascade Cantata, and what I liked about it is I honestly, and I'd be curious if you guys have recommendations, please let me know in the comments. I have a heck of a time knitting with cotton. I don't find knitting with it particularly enjoyable, and I feel like it creates a really heavy fabric. And so even though it's meant for summer knits, I'll make it and I'm like, this is like dense, and it gets like, it holds a lot of moisture and it doesn't feel light, you know. It's like a heavy, like when I make a cotton thing, even if it's cropped, it's heavy. So if you have other fibers that you've worked with that create maybe something a little lighter, I would be interested in that, especially if it's like a DK or up. I'm sure there are fingering and lace weights that I could look into, but I'm just curious. I will say I recommend this yarn. I had a good experience. This is super light, and so I think it'll be really, really nice for the summer, and I love the color. So I could see myself picking up another skein or two. They still have it at my yarn shop in like some other different colors, and it's available at so Lovely Yarns. They have an online shop. You can pick it up there, or I bet a bunch of places carry it, but I believe yarn.com carries it as well. But I would be curious if there's others out there. My Farfa top that I recently finished by the Knit Pearl Girl, which is coming out very soon, I think within a week, was in a silk merino blend, and I really enjoyed that. So I'm wondering if there's blends out there that are maybe a little thicker, DK or worsted, that would be good options. But if you've had a good experience, let me know. I would love to know, just because I would like to have maybe a few more pieces that I could wear in the spring and summer. So I have the biggest thing that I want to talk about today is my other finished object. So this is going to be a big one. So I'm going to take a sip. This is my first coffee of the day, so. Okay, let me go grab it because it's on my blocking mats. All right, if you have been following me at all, you will know that I have been working on another Andrea Mowry pattern for pretty much exclusively, short of this summer top, which I popped out while this thing was drying because it's thick, so it's taking so long to dry. You will know that I have been working on the Shifty sweater. So here it is in all its glory. That is the back side, so you can see the short row shaping, and then you can kind of see my seam here from all my different color changes. Honestly, it looked so much worse before I dried it. I mean, I washed it, so I'm honestly pretty happy with that. So here we go. It's done. I'm super excited. I tried it on. I'm so happy with the fit. Sleeves, I feel like I'm always nervous how much they're gonna grow. These grew perfectly. So I'm really happy with the decreases and how the lines came out. I just, honestly, I'm so glad I waited to knit this pattern until I had a little bit more experience like I do now. I'm so happy with the colors that I picked, which I will talk more about all the different indie dyers that are represented in here. And I'm just so happy with the result. I honestly I can't see any major mistakes. I'm happy with the ribbing. I think the bind off came out pretty well. It's stretchy. Color choices are something I really struggle with. I always have to consult Steve because he is definitely more artistic than me. But this I pretty much decided on my own and I went for it. I've had so many people say so many wonderful things about my sweater. A lot of people have talked about how they are worried about knitting this pattern in non-spin cycle yarns, which I did not use spin cycle yarns. I used a collection of indie dyed yarns, which I will highlight in a moment. But a lot of people know spin cycle yarns in the US. They are these beautiful spun yarns that have this like marled effect and color change, and they're absolutely gorgeous, and the craftsmanship is incredible. And as a result, which is fair, they are quite expensive. I think, you know, I'm all for people getting paid fairly, but from my social work budget, I cannot afford a sweater quantity of spin cycle yarns. I believe if I had bought a kit of spin cycle yarns for this, it would have been like $300 just in fiber. And I just, frankly, I just can't justify it as beautiful as their products are. So I would love to see if other people have used fiber similar to that. I love the color changing. I love the marled look. Would be super excited to hear if there are fibers out there that you guys have tried that you really like, that have a similar effect. I just would love to I've never tried a yarn like that, so I definitely would be excited to give it a shot. But anyway, so about the Shifty sweater. Okay, so the Shifty sweater is a circular yoke. It is done in mosaic color work, so you can kind of see that these little, they call them blips. Here, I'll use the sleeve to highlight it. So there's like little blips and big blips sections, and you create the multiple colors by slipping stitches. So then it's really nice because you're only ever working one color in a round. If you're scared of color work, I encourage you to try mosaic color work because it is really a really nice knitting experience and it creates like a really lovely project. The pattern calls for, I think, 3/4 inch sleeves. I knit full length sleeves. I even considered short sleeves because honestly it looks so cute, and when I had it before I started my sleeves. But I decided, you know what, I want this to be, it kind of almost fits like a sweatshirt, like it's shaping. So I was like, I want this to just be something I can toss on. It's cozy. It's like my outfit is made because I have this statement piece on. And I didn't know how I would feel about layering a cardigan over it because I just wanted this piece to kind of shine on its own. There's a little bit of short row shaping in the back, nothing too crazy. And, you know, rib, collar, rib, hem. I made an effort to match my ribbing with my collar, with my sleeves. I was worried about yarn amounts. I shouldn't have been, but I will go into that a little bit more too. Okay, so let's talk about the yarn. So I've been wanting to knit this project for a while. I had been keeping an eye on DK weight yarn that I thought would look good in the sweater. I stocked the hashtag a little bit on Instagram and looked around at people's different projects. But ultimately what kind of got me excited about some color combinations was Red Door Fiber Studios releasing her Accord of Thorns and Roses collection, which was in the fall. So I loved her colors. I loved some of her variegated ones, but I particularly liked her tonals, and I thought they would look really nice in the sweater. So I bought a bunch, but ended up using 3 of them because the other 3 colors I got I love, but I thought didn't quite blend with the more kind of, you can see I ended up towards more like autumny colors with like a splash of the green and this blue. So the colors I used were Cauldron Boil Me, Play the Fox, and Insignificant Human. So they are this like really nice kind of orangey coppery color, this really nice like variegated, which I'll have to get a little closer to show you. So it's like really nice variegated, which pops up a lot in the sweater. I never used it as a background color, but I used it a lot in the blips, and I really liked the effect that it had because it picks up on the creams, it picks up on the green, it picks up on the orange. I was just really happy with how that came out. And the other color from her, oh, this really, I loved this green. It's like something in between, like, I don't know, it just reminds me of kind of like a springy green. I just really love it. She is going to be doing a greatest hits collection, I believe this spring or summer. And I love these colors so much. And some of her others that I used that I think I'll definitely place an order. I just have to decide. Her fiber is also really, really soft. So I could definitely see myself getting a sweater quantity of something from her. You know, maybe for my my first sweater, maybe I could pick up my sweater quantity from Red Door. And Kate is just really great. I really enjoy her on social media, and she's just really upfront about her business and her inspiration, and she is just very candid and funny. So she's a good Instagram follow for sure. So the other fibers that I have in here from a local dyer in Catonsville, Maryland, which is really close to me. This really nice blue is called Eventide. This was a sock weight yarn that I got from Clover Hill Yarn Shop, where they exclusively sell Tempting You yarns. And I love this blue. I ended up partially wanting to extend the sleeves just so I could use it again. And I've got a ton left, so I need to figure out what to do with it, but I love it. So I'm super happy with that. And then I've got Madeline Tosh in here too. This like dark color that pops up a few times. That's a Madeline Tosh, I believe, Fireside, or it's an older yarn I got from that estate sale. And then last but not least, from my friend at Gypsy Soul Fibers, this gorgeous golden chai color. I believe she might still have some in her shop. It's nice. It's got a little bit of variation, but it's just this beautiful golden color. You can see I kind of am drawn towards that color. And I think it just makes the sweater. So I'm really happy with that. And she is just a really lovely person too. So definitely recommend checking out her shop. She does a lot of great speckled yarns. And she has, I think she started doing some super bulky as well, for those are out there who are hat knitters. So she's just really great. So here's Aria coming to say hi. She's like, oh my gosh, look at all this yarn. She loves yarn. Who doesn't? And I believe that is everything fiber wise. So, I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about what I learned from this pattern. So as a lot of you probably saw, Andrea Mowry recently re-released the pattern Shifty 2.0, where she completely rewrote it. I didn't really know the differences because I have had the pattern on my wish list for a long time, but I didn't actually buy it until when I started knitting this sweater, which was weird. I thought I had already owned it, but I guess not. So I got it on Ravelry, and I was at Frostburg Fiber Depot, and I was like, you know, she had knit the original Shifty, and I was like, I just don't really know the differences. Like maybe there weren't short rows initially. She was like, no, like it's completely regraded. Like, and so Andrea Mowry talks about it more in her post, but she talked about how she's like learned a lot since she first designed the sweater, and she's learned a lot about sizing, and she'd gotten a lot of feedback from knitters. And she decided to completely rewrite the pattern. So I'm really glad I decided to knit it now and not like 6 months ago, because I really like the way it fits on me. I'll cut in a video of how it looks on me. But I heard that the old pattern, like it was just kind of hard to get it to fit in the way that it looked when Andrea Mowry was wearing it. It's supposed to be a really fitted garment. I struggle a bit getting sweaters to fit like they do on models because my bust is I don't know how to say this without being weird, but my bust is pretty large, and so with knitting, you know, you make a size by your bust. So then I'll like knit something for my bust, but then around my waist, I mean, you can kind of see around my waist and my hips, and it looks really large. So I am still learning a lot, but this pattern recommends basically knitting for 0 to maybe negative ease. I'm really, really happy with the fit. I think if I would have wanted it to fit exactly like hers, which were in hers pictures, it's now that I know a little bit more, she's definitely wearing a sweater that has negative ease because it's fitted really around her bust and her waist and her arms. So but I'm actually really happy with mine. Mine fits a little bit bigger, but it's still not too like too big. So that all being said, if you knit this pattern, I definitely recommend knitting the Shifty 2.0 versus the original Shifty, which was recently released, and when you buy the pattern you get both. And if you want it to be fitted, I would say go at your bust size or even below. For yarn amounts, no, you know what? I'm happy with it. I think I knit at pretty much 0 ease. I didn't meet gauge initially, so I went down a needle size. I anticipated that because the pattern is written for sport weight and I was using DK weight. And then I was naughty and I didn't do another gauge swatch, but it worked out for me. So don't follow my example. But I did do a lot of try-ons because for that reason, I kind of knew that I think my width gauge was like, once I went down a needle size and I was looking at, I think my width gauge was pretty good. My measurements came out pretty good, but my depth was weird. So I just I ended up I did my yoke repeats. I cut off my yoke repeats a little earlier than the pattern would have suggested. And it worked out for me. So I think I've learned a lot about knitting sweaters in the past year and how to like try it on, kind of think a little bit about it, but I'm still definitely learning a lot more. I love that Aria is just like a fixture in the background here now. This was my first circular yoke. I am really, really happy with the fit. I would definitely knit again. I was surprised by how easy it was. I think honestly, this pattern could definitely be done by like a pretty ambitious beginner because the color work is easy. I'm trying to think the most difficult part of the pattern, probably, I guess short row shaping, but other than that, I didn't find it particularly difficult. So honestly, the hardest part was picking colors and sticking with them. So, you know, if you really like color, this is probably the pattern for you. And I think that's kind of all I have to say about it. This is definitely, I think, one of my favorite projects, if not my favorite project. It's hard because I would say the Farfa top I recently finished is probably the most, I would say the most technically difficult project I've knit. It wasn't necessarily difficult. It was just all the finishing pieces to make it look the way that it did. And so I'm really proud of it, and I really love it, and I love my fiber choice there. So they're both so different. So I guess I just love them equally. They're just really different. And one I think is going to be getting a lot more wear in the near future because, of course, I finished the sweater and it's like 60 degrees every day here, which is great. But it's like, I just want to get out there and wear my sweater. So that's my finished projects. I've been pretty exclusively knitting on my Shifty sweater. So in terms of finished projects, that's all I got. So let's talk about works in progress. So I mentioned another knit along, which is apparently all I do, that I hopped in on. My friend Tammy at South Paul Woolery is hosting a knit along of the Cozy Winter Shawl, which I linked last time. And I have the pattern here. Let's take a look. It's the Cozy Winter by Melanie Millinger. I don't know if I'm pronouncing Mylinger. It's knit in a worsted weight yarn. She recommends a drops, big drops merino, or merino big drops. I don't have that, and as I said in the past, I'm working really hard on knitting from my stash. So I am using some yarn I have left over from a sweater that I way overbought yarn for. Lesson learned, but hey, drops air. I will always take it. I really like working with it. It's really soft. It's like a nice blown yarn. I like this color a lot. I initially made my mom a sweater and this, and so I'm currently working on this shawl. I'll show you what I've got so far. It's charted and it's cabled. So it's got a lot of texture. I started this last night, so it's just a little baby shawl right now. So you can see, here's like the cable section. Here's like a little bit of yarn over, lace work. I think this is just some stockinette. So, so far I'm liking it. The pattern's well written. The crew I'm knitting with is great. It's quite a crew, and everybody's using all different colors. Lots of people using Malabrigo Rios, which is definitely a favorite yarn of mine. But like I said, I didn't want to purchase yarn. I wanted to work with what I've got, and I think this is going to make like a really pretty, light and soft shawl. When I first started knitting, I didn't gauge swatch again. Honestly, I have so much of this yarn that I'm kind of not worried about the amounts, and if I need to make extra increases to make it the size that I want, or if I have to block it aggressively, I'm fine with that. So I don't normally gauge swatch on shawls. I've knit 3 now. I think the only way I would do it is if I was really worried about yarn amounts, just because I personally don't feel like shawl size is that big of a deal. But I do think if I'm gonna be making a garment for myself, I do gauge swatch, except for this sweater. But again, I started this in November. I had gauge swatch for stuff before, especially my test knits. I'm pretty obsessed, like I'm pretty diligent about making sure I gauge swatch for any tests that I do. But for myself, I'm sometimes willing to take the risk. So, but anyway, I'm pretty happy with it. Initially, I was like worried because the yarn that's recommended is 50 grams, 82 yards. And so I was like, that's, for a worsted weight, that seems like that gram to yardage is kind of little. I was like, I wonder if that's then kind of a thicker yarn. I don't know if I'm quite communicating my message there super well, but Drops is, it's really light, so that's what I was trying to think. And then yardage wise, so 50 grams of this is 164 yards, so twice the yardage for the same weight, which, I mean, honestly, so, and I think the gauge is about the same for the two, the recommended gauge. So I think what that means is I will end up with, you know, I'll have to use less balls of yarn, which is fine by me. And I'll end up with something that is just way lighter, which I think is just one of the properties of the blown yarns, is they end up being like pretty light. So you can't see her, but Arya's down here being very cute and cuddly. So she loves her morning snuggles. So yeah, so that's what I'm using. So far it's been a good knitting experience, and I will I'll show you the picture on the front of the pattern. I think it's going to make a really pretty shawl, and I will see if it's my taste. If it's not, then I think I have a couple people in my life who might really like it, so I'm just kind of keeping that in mind. It looks like it gets quite large from that, so I think it'll be a nice pretty wrap. So that is my current whip. I will be working on that for, I believe, the next 5 weeks or so. I'm not sure how ambitious it is. I do think I will cast on another project while I'm doing it, because there's another knit along that I want to take part in. So, but before I get to that, I'm going to go into acquisitions. Okay, so acquisitions would be just yarn that I've picked up recently. Like I said, I've been knitting for my stash, so I haven't been picking up a lot of acquisitions, unless it's something that I want to supplement what I already have. I will say I am part of a fiber exchange right now, where once a month I will send a mystery skein to one of my Insta friends. So I do buy 1 skein a month for that. And to be honest, that's mostly what I've been buying the past 3 months. It's just 1 skein a month. And I never buy without a project in mind. So with acquisitions in mind, I talked earlier about Quaint Acres alpaca. I actually acquired this a long time ago, but I thought it would be fun to talk about it. This is from Quaint Acres alpaca. It is their super bulky, their cute little alpaca logo. So it says, brought to you fresh from the mountains of West Virginia, this soft and cuddly goodness is produced in partnership with Frostburg Fiber Depot. Ideal for luxury items, hand wash with love and care, and cool water and block as needed. So it's 50% alpaca, 50% merino wool. I mean, look at this. It's so pretty. I love, as you can tell, I love like a natural wool. It's so soft and squishy. I bought this, I think, in the fall, but I just wanted to highlight it since I was just there, and talk about their yarns, especially since we've been talking more about, the knitting community has been talking about sustainable fiber practices, and what's more sustainable than a family farm in partnership with their daughter's fiber shop, creating and selling fiber. I mean, I just think it's such a neat thing, and I just fell in love with alpaca fiber. So this is the fingering weight yarn that I used for my Stria cardigan. I mentioned the details above, but I think I wrote a little bit more about it. So it's, where did I put it? Quaint Acres Blended Harvest. This is color 9. I believe they still have some in stock. I cannot recommend it enough. It is so beautiful. Like, I just love the color variation. I'm not normally drawn to yellows, but I think in this variegated yarn. I just love it. And it's so soft. It's so nice. And this is what I have remaining after all of these stripes. So I just think, you know, I think they were like $35, but you totally get your money's worth, and you're supporting just like great local farming practices. And these dyes too are just like, I just love it. So I cannot really over recommend this. I just am really happy with it. So I just wanted to spotlight them a little bit. And then my other acquisition that I got was Sorella recently did their greatest hits collection. So that was in January. So I ordered this. This is actually my first time actually opening it. Surrey alpaca yarn to be held together for a sweater. Oh my gosh, this is so soft. I can't believe this is my first time touching it. So this is in the colorway Out of the Woods that they did for their Taylor Swift collection. I want to hold this together with some remaining heritage sock that I have. I'm hoping that'll work. I have saved Parkin knit pattern. I believe the Cozy Classic Raglan. Or is that just made? I'll link it appropriately, but it's got like a high neck, and I was thinking about making that with this. I just love this colorway. And it's the Surrey. I mean, the yardage is crazy. So this is 100 grams, you get 437 yards. So I got 2, and I think that's enough for a sweater quantity. Wow, and it is so soft. This would be my first time using Surrey alpaca. So I am pretty excited about that. And I really loved the colorway, but I didn't want it to be I feel like sometimes with the variegated, it can be really overwhelming. So I've seen a lot of people who've done like the Wednesday sweater and held together with like a fun speckled mohair. So that's kind of where I got the idea from. So that is, that's really my only acquisition that I've gotten recently, but I just got it in, and I ordered it in January because they had such an overwhelming response, which is amazing. And I'm not in any rush. So I knew it would be quite a wait before I got my yarn from them. So, and then did I order anything from them recently? Yes, I did actually. They recently did a new collection. Their collections will get me every time because of their colors. And I ordered a couple sport weight skeins because I want to make the Jessie made great gingham raglan, which is this amazing like gingham design. So, but I've been trying recently to pair my indie dyed yarns with a neutral base that's at a more affordable price for myself. Like I said, I'm a social worker, so budget is just something I always have to keep in mind. You know, Steve and I live comfortably, but I can't be out here spending $100 every time I want to make a sweater. Just the reality of things. So it is what it is. But also knitting from my stash has been helping me just keep that in mind, and just trying to take inspiration from what I have in my collection, which I've really enjoyed. So it's been great. So I know I've been chatting for a while. I already talked about my whips. So just last is kind of just what's upcoming from me, Nectar Knits. And I've got some exciting stuff coming up. So I talked about another make along that I want to join. So Mezzo Makes. She does fiber and has some amazing patterns. She is doing a knit along of her patterns, and so I want to cast on with these that I've had since, oh my goodness, I feel like I've had these for like a year. I want to cast on the Brookline blouse, which is like kind of this fun cropped like picot edge blouse. What What I love about Mezzo Makes is she is larger busted, and so she makes patterns that are made to be adjusted to your individual body. And as I mentioned before, my bust measurement is really different from my waist measurement. So often I will make something and it just kind of looks like a bag on me. I love a good big oversized sweater, so I'm not complaining, but I am excited to try something that might have a little bit more of a silhouette to look like match my body. I've also been considering, I know Ocean Knits had the Made You Fall blouse, Made You Look, and she does a lot of those kinds of like helping you determine what you need for your body. So that's something I've also been considering. But anyway, these are 2 skeins of Malabrigo Arroyo. They have been wanting to be a Brookline blouse for a long time. This is 100% superwash merino wool from Malabrigo, 335 yards each. When I ordered these, I didn't know anything about yarn amounts, so I really should determine that this will be enough, because it would be kind of awkward if it wasn't. But like I said, I ordered this a year ago. I had no idea what I was doing. But it's super soft. It's in the colorway Lotus. I think it'll be pretty, and it's like it's kind of like got some like blue, silver, gray in there for spring, and then some like moody purple for fall. So I think it'll be fun. It's super soft. So that, I believe, I will cast on probably sometime this week once I make some progress on this shawl. And that's all my like projects that I have coming up. This is the year of Brie projects, or maybe every year will be the year of Brie projects. I don't know. I also have I have like a to-do list of, not to-do list, but a want to make list for family. So I need to start figuring out when I'm going to do that, but it's hard. There's so much out there I want to make. But you know, I have time and I'm enjoying it as it comes along. All right, things that I have coming up, and then I'm going to sign off. I know this has been a long chat. If you're still with me, I feel like I should give you a medal or something. But things that I have coming up that I'm excited about. Steve and I are going to be going to England for 2 weeks. We're going to be in Brighton and then Bath, and then visiting family near Morton and Marsh, and then going to the Peaks District, and then going to visit family in Bedfordshire, and then ending in Cambridge where Steve's sister is studying, and I'm just really, really excited. I'm going to try and meet up. Me and Sophie talked about maybe meeting up in Cambridge, which would be really cool to meet some of my like knitting idols in England. But I'm super excited. I am hoping to pick up some yarn while I'm over there. And so if you are based in the UK and there's any shops in any of those cities that you think I should check out, let me know. I'm definitely going to go to Woolbath. I follow them on Instagram and they seem amazing. And I think I'm staying pretty close to them. So I'm going to definitely pop in there. But like I said, Brighton, Bath, Morton and Marsh, Bedfordshire, Cambridge, and we're doing just like one night in London, so probably won't be going fiber shopping in London unless there's somebody I like have to go to see. So, and then the other thing that I still need to get my tickets for, and I'll post about this on my Instagram, is the Maryland Sheep and Wool Festival. My camera cut me off because I accidentally touched my headphones and it just stopped. So anyway, I'm really excited. The Maryland Sheep and Wool Festival is happening in Howard County Fairgrounds, I believe, which is just outside of Baltimore, like 30 minutes outside the city. And I'm going to be there. I will have literally just gotten back from England 2 days beforehand, so I will be extremely jet lagged, but I can't miss an awesome Fiber Fest. I've heard it's really, really great. I've seen some people talk about like Rhinebeck and how awesome Rhinebeck is, but then a lot of people talked then about how great the Maryland Sheep and Wool Festival is. And it's $5 per day. Like, what a steal for 2 days of a day of fiber fun, getting to see sheep, getting to see all kinds of wool. They have a bunch of classes. They sold out really fast. I think there's some wait lists. I am not going to do classes because I think a lot of them are actually scheduled leading up to the festival, and so I will be in another country. And I'm really excited to go. I am going to have to be really smart about money just because I will have just returned from 2 weeks of travel, but I'm really excited to just go and see some amazing fiber folks. If you are planning on going, let me know. I would be excited to see anybody there and, grab a drink or, well, to be honest, after the fiber festival, I'll probably have to go home and nap because I'll be jet lagged, but I'm super excited. Let me know if you've ever gone to a fiber festival. What should I expect? Are you going to Maryland Sheep and Wool? And yeah, so that's all I've got. I'm hoping to do these like once a month or so, just because, they're really fun. I really enjoyed it. So I hope you enjoyed it too. And yeah, I'll see you out there on the gram. If you have, like I said, shop recommendations in England, thoughts about Fiber Festival, summer fiber you like using, that's a big one, please leave me a comment. And if you want to see more of my videos or anything like that, just let me know because I just appreciate the feedback and I love connecting with people. So have a wonderful day and I will be chatting with you soon. Bye.